Aloha, and welcome to Wind in Your Hair. Authentic talk, real breakthroughs in love and life, guaranteed no BS, and the life you want most, starting right now. All right, aloha, and welcome to Wind in Your Hair. I'm Anna, your host, and this is going to be a solo episode. I, first of all, have to just say I'm so sorry that I was MIA last week. I need to let you know that I attempted twice to record and upload an episode, and both times failed. I actually interviewed a farmer who was on Farmer Wants a Wife, and we did the whole interview, and technology glitched, terrible Wi-Fi. I was staying in an Airstream out in the country up in North Texas. So I went to another place after that, and I said, I'm going to have to redo the interview with him next month. I'm going to find some freaking Wi-Fi. I did the solo episode. I used a new platform and it wouldn't upload. So it was a hard thing for me to just accept. But I just said, you know what? I'm just going to let it go. I'm in transition. I'm moving into my new place in Dallas in about a week. I've been on the road exploring Fort Worth, Dallas, North Dallas, trying to find a place where I can plant some roots for my kiddos and I, my 3 children, who are ages 14, 17, and 22. And I have been a little gypsy vagabond getting wind in her hair. And it's been an amazing experience being in the Airstream, out in the peaceful countryside, just literally with my thoughts with God. And so during this time, I've learned a lot about trust and what it really, really means to trust God. I'm going to flip the idea of trust on you. I want to present it in a way we may not have ever thought about before, in a way that really shifted my mindset towards trust. And so this episode is going to be about trust and understanding, grasping trust in a way that will change our lives, because the word trust gets thrown around so much. And I grew up thinking trust was one thing, but then I learned trust is actually not what I thought it was. So I'm going to share a story about a wheelbarrow that I learned at church last week. And I'm going to talk about a few things about what trust really means, what it looks like to trust God, and have you walk away asking yourself one specific question: how trust can dramatically alter your life. And then I'm going to close with a prayer. If you want to stick around for that, I will pray for you as I pray for all my platform listeners, because prayer is powerful. I've got my notes in front of me, so I stay focused because your time is valuable. So let's start here. Forget the word trust for a second and think of the word oxygen. You don't have to debate oxygen. You don't have to question it. You don't have to wonder anything about it, whether it's going to show up or not, whether it's going to work. You just breathe because you know it's there. And that's what trusting God is supposed to be like. So think about that for a minute. You don't actually have a trust problem. Really, when it comes down to it and you have a hard time trusting, it really comes down to a a control problem. And when I thought about that, I realized I say I trust God, and then when he takes too long or it doesn't happen according to my plan, the way I think it should ideally work out, I withdraw my trust and I reach for the steering wheel. I decide, well, I need to take over because it's not happening fast enough and the way that I want it to. Somewhere along the way, we have convinced ourselves that anxiety equals responsibility, and that worrying is supposed to be preparing us, and that if we don't hold everything together, everything will fall apart. So let's break that down, because a lot of us feels like anxiety is normal and worry is normal and stress and fretting and angst is all normal. When something doesn't happen the way it's supposed to happen, we revert to emotional angst, right? That is not how it's supposed to be. I caught myself recently and I felt very convicted because I'm just going to say it. I've been a bit of a fraud. I tell people to attach themselves to something bigger and more powerful. and wiser. And so when I say that, I say attach yourself to something bigger, such as God. Attach yourself to Him and His vision and His power and His resources and His wisdom and all the gifts that He has to offer you. And here I am, worrying, acting as if I serve a small God. And I don't. I don't serve a small God. I serve a big God with a big heart and big shoulders. If something doesn't happen according to my timeline, I naturally just start to fret and I want to make a phone call. I want to try to talk the person into it. Say, for example, my children kind of wanted to move to the mainland and then they changed their mind. And so I think, okay, God, this is not how it's supposed to be. My kids are supposed to be here with me already, and it's complicated. They're supposed to be here. So, okay, now I need to call my daughter. I need to somehow talk her into it, maybe bribe her, and I'm not a bribing parent. I need to take over. I need to figure out, how am I going to make this happen? And that is wrong. That's me not trusting. That's me trying to be in control. That's not me treating trust like it is oxygen. And I'm convicted. And I just want to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being a fraud. And I've learned my lesson. I've learned since being in the Airstream and certain things happening that normally I would have been very, very upset about. For example, my two younger children, 14 and 17, are in Hawaii with their father, and he is not the best co-parenter. He's very just avoidant. And so he said he wants to buy our daughter, 17-year-old, a car. And I said, well, hold off till after Christmas because they're coming to visit me in Texas for Christmas and they may like it and she might want to stay. So in that case, she'll use my car and then I'll upgrade and then she won't have to make payments with the car in Hawaii. Well, he totally ignored my text and bought her the car anyway. What would you have done? I naturally started to panic. I was like, no, this is ruining my plan. This is not how it's supposed to go. If he buys her a car, then my daughter's not going to want to stay in Texas. Everything's ruined. Everything I've been working towards this past year, down the drain, it's ruined. And then here God is like going, hello, like, what about me? You think a car is going to prevent me from working out my plan? When I thought about that, I was just so humbled. And I realized that's not me trusting God, that's me trying to control. So what trust really looks like, and just side note, what I decided to do was to be happy for her in the car and just do something I don't normally do, which is just to say, okay, God, you got this. I am literally not going to do a thing. I'm just going to be happy for her in her car. I'm going to trust you like I'm breathing in oxygen. And so trust isn't an emotion. Let's get down deep into this. It is a spiritual posture. And I love that vision that's given me. It's choosing to trust. It's choosing to stand still. This is huge because I'm a doer. I'm a mover. I have tons of energy. I can just go all day long. And a verse that constantly pops out to me is Exodus 14:14. And it says, I will fight this battle for you. You need only be still. And this verse actually makes me feel a little bit emotional because I have been the opposite of that. It's so wild to me. It's so counterintuitive that the God of the universe is saying, hey, I got this for you. I got you. I have a good plan for you to prosper you and not to harm you. All you have to do is be still. I'm just like, God, that does not make any sense at all. I'm not supposed to be still. And being still doesn't mean sitting on your ass, just to clarify. Being still is really trusting God. It's not fretting. It's not worrying. It's not having anxiety. It's refusing to fix what God never asked you to fix. And just think about this. God's ways are higher than our ways. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. And so with our human finite minds, how can we expect that God is going to work on our level and he's going to work out everything how a human would work it out? Like, we don't know everything. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You know that he sees everything, right? He sees your next step. He sees tomorrow. He sees next week. He sees next year. He knows how it's all going to lay out. And he is not here waiting, like I said last week, to catch you with your hand into the cookie jar. He's not waiting to discipline you, waiting to just slam down the hammer and say guilty. That is not God. And now I'm talking about Buddha. I'm talking about the God, the Holy Spirit, Jesus, God, Trinity, God. That's what I'm talking about. And so he's a God who has a good plan for your life. It says in the word that he has good plans for you and he's going to bring it to fruition. But we need to learn how to do life differently. We need to learn how to trust God differently. And I constantly envision this. I say, God, I want to trust you to the point where my nervous system doesn't get dysregulated, to where I am not worrying, where something happens and I just say, okay, that was a detour. That I didn't think that was going to happen. But you know what, God? You know best. You know better than me. You know everything. So you know what? I'm just going to let out a breath and just continue on with my day. Just go about my business. That kind of trust is new to me, I have to say, because I was a control freak. I wanted everything to happen in my timeline. And I'm so sorry and so embarrassed to say that I'm 40 and I'm just learning this lesson. So trusting God is letting God lead, even when the situation feels like it's falling apart. Because most of us say that we trust God, right? But we trust him like we trust our Wi-Fi. Like as long as the signal is strong, we're good. And the second it buffers, right, we start to panic and try to grab the wheel. And I constantly have that vision in my mind. I'm supposed to be sitting in the passenger seat and God's in the driver's seat. When I say I trust him, I don't even have to wear my seatbelt, actually. And I can look out the window and just relax, listen to some music, just chill. That's what truly trusting God is like. I'm not looking at the GPS map like I do with the Ubers and make sure that they're going in the right direction. I'm not looking even at the time because God's timeline is not the same as our timeline. I'm just cruising. But when I don't trust God, I've got my seatbelt on because I'm worried. I'm looking at God, I'm looking at the window, I'm looking at the GPS, I'm looking in front of us, I'm looking at the time. I'm going, something's off here. I don't feel at ease. I'm nervous. I'm worried because this is not how it's supposed to play out. And I want to stop that. And I have. I'm learning how to trust him. And then God's like, no, sit down, breathe. I've got this. And I tell my clients at the end of every email, I got you. You're in good hands. And then here I am being a fraud again. And I hear God saying that to me. He's repeating my own words to me. He's like, Anna, darling, he says, I got you. You're in good hands. And it's so humbling to say, God, how could I doubt you? I've never even heard him audibly speak to me, but I hear him speak to my heart all the time because it's like a muscle memory thing. I've been listening to him for so many years, my entire life, and listening to him through music and through my writing, that it's become the norm to me. But it wasn't the norm for me to fully trust God. And that's why Proverbs 3:5, I love this verse. It hits differently. When you really look at it, right? Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, not some of them, not the most important ways, all your ways, acknowledge him or consider him or think about him. And he will direct your paths. He will lead you. But trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your understanding. That's all your heart, not half, not selective, not trusting God with plan A, while secretly, which is what I do, secretly building plan B. The biggest issue right now in my life has been creating a comfortable home space, planting roots, and getting my 3 children, at least my 2 younger ones, to come and live with me, possibly go to school. I've homeschooled them their whole lives up until recently. Getting involved in a church community, leaving Hawaii, the closed-minded, small-minded community on the North Shore of Oahu, leaving all that behind and moving to the mainland to pursue bigger and better opportunities for growth and financial freedom and starting businesses and having more opportunities to do all of these things and building our dreams, like bringing our dreams to life. It's a really hard thing to do on the North Shore of Oahu, in the country, on a dirt road with not a lot of things happening. And it's one road in and out, and it's a long ways to basically civilization. Yes, we have electricity and hot water. But, the whole time living there, I took an outdoor shower, literally an open, like there was three walls and a bunch of ginger plants. But I pretty much grew up taking outdoor showers because I loved it. Even when it rained, it would rain down on me in the outdoor shower with just the sun shining through and rainbows. Okay, so I want to share the story with you, the wheelbarrow story. So think about the guy who pushed the wheelbarrow across the tightrope across the Niagara Falls. So I'm going to just speed it up. Every time he made it across, the crowd got crazy and they were just cheering him on. And then he finally said, "Who wants to get in the wheelbarrow?" And all of a sudden it got quiet. Nobody wants to get in the wheelbarrow. Literally, I mean, you're on a tightrope walking thousands of feet above Niagara Falls, and somebody got in. And it was his manager, because his manager knew him and trusted him. So the point of the story is, I think about, like, would I get in that wheelbarrow? No, I would not get in the wheelbarrow. Even if I knew the person so well, accidents happen, right? But that is not the case with God. With God, accidents don't happen. He's not going to forget something. He's not going to mess up in your life. He's not going to create the wrong plan for you, that plan that was meant for somebody else. He's got it. And so what the pastor at church last week challenged all of us was, hey, what if you got in the wheelbarrow for a year and you trusted God with your finances, with your future, with your relationships, with your career, with all of the things? And he said, we can't afford not to trust him. So what this means for your life: could you get in the wheelbarrow if God was pushing it and fully trust him to make it across the scariest parts of your life? He said, what would your life look like if you got in God's wheelbarrow for a year? And not just trusting God on Sundays, how most people do, and then panicking on Mondays. It's not about giving God your problems while holding on to the outcome at all. That's not trust. And what if we didn't freak out when the circumstances shifted, or we didn't lose sleep over timelines? How many sleepless nights have you had worrying about stuff? Or what if we didn't panic when people disappointed us, when our kids changed their minds, or when you didn't get the client that you wanted, or when whatever it is? What if we didn't spiral when things take longer than expected? That's a big deal for me because I'm a time person. What that means is I don't like wasting time. I will chill in the sun and listen to an audiobook. To me, that's not wasting time. Or I will kick ass all day long and create a new product. Whatever it is, I'm not going to be sitting there watching TV. I'm not going to be scrolling social media. I am not going to be doing anything to me that is a waste of my time. I know how valuable my time. It's your most precious commodity. Your time is precious. Your body is precious. Your energy is precious. Your mindset, your heart, it's all precious. So I don't ever want to just throw it away anymore. What I want to do is invest it, not spend it. And that's called personal development at its finest, where you're constantly learning to level up your life and do things differently, make better choices than yesterday. So what if we move through our day with peace, where we're breathing differently, which is what I started to do. When something doesn't go my way, I just take a deep breath. And you want to know what I also say? I just say, God, I invite you into this moment. And I say it all day long. When something doesn't happen, or even when I am trying to cut out certain things and then I'm thinking about eating or drinking them, I just say, God, I invite you into this moment. Or even the days where I fast from food and I start to get hungry, I just chug a bunch of water and I say, God, I invite you into this moment. So I carry myself more like someone who believes God is actually in control. And so I challenge you, what would it look like for you to carry yourself like God is actually in control? So Exodus 14:14, I mentioned it at the beginning, is the antidote to every anxious thought. And that is, I will fight this battle for you. You need only be still. Isn't that wild that God would say that? And thank goodness I'm not God. I would say something else like not be still, but kind of the opposite. Hey, work hard, be wise, go do this, go work out, go do all these things. But he says, be still, which means not to strive, not to perform, not to panic, not to obsess over the how. Be still. Because when you're still, God can actually move. And when you are trying to grab the steering wheel, he's like, okay, we're going to crash and you're going to delay my good plan. So we can't speed up God's good plan, but we can definitely delay it because of our own immaturity, doubt, lack of trust. So when you stop controlling, God can actually work. So when you are grasping what you want to have control over, you are holding on so tight that no one and nothing can pry your fingers open. How is God going to work with that bullshit? You tell me. So when you stop micromanaging, God can actually lead. What we have to do is just open our hands and just say, okay, God, I'm trusting you enough to relax, to open my hands, to let you take out whatever you don't want me to have, because we need to let go of what is not meant for us so that God can give us what is meant for us. So what real trust looks like, we're wrapping this up. Real trust is obedience without full context. God is not going to tell you the whole plan. He might tell you 1 minute beforehand or one step beforehand. It looks like peace without full clarity. And for the first time in my life, this has been the hardest season of my life. In this season, I've learned how to fully trust God like I'm breathing oxygen. I have had the most peace I've ever had in my entire life, the peace that surpasses all understanding. I don't try and understand anymore. And that's my personality. I love to understand. I remember growing up, my mother would always say, "You don't understand, Anna." And I would say, well, Mom, I want to understand. I was so frustrated. But when we trust him, we don't have to fully understand because once again, our minds are so different from God's. We have finite minds. His mind is infinite, right? He's all knowing. We are not all knowing. And so obedience looks like faith without needing any proof. Faith is believing without seeing. You just choose to believe. There's a lot of people who don't choose to believe or trust because they need the proof. They need the facts. Well, how's that going for you? Because that is not the way God works. It looks like rest without knowing the outcome. So here we have obedience without full context. We have peace without full clarity. We have surrender without full understanding and faith without needing proof. That's what trust is when it's like you're breathing oxygen. And real trust says, God, I don't need to see the whole path. I don't need to see the whole plan at all. I just need to know that you're on it. Like you're on top of it. You got me. And God can open any door. He can open doors that men can't open. He has countless resources. So don't doubt him. So the one question to ask yourself today is, where in my life am I claiming to trust God, but refusing to get in the wheelbarrow? The pastor was talking a lot about trusting God with their finances. And the Bible says to tithe 10%. So for me to be completely transparent, there was a time in my life that I had a hard time tithing because I grew up middle class. I married a man who was a firefighter and in the army, so we didn't make a lot of money. We basically just got by every month. And so I realized with my money, I didn't trust God. And I knew in my heart that God wanted to deal with this with me and to let me know, Anna, like you can't afford not to tithe. You can't afford not to trust me in this area. There's a verse in the Bible that says, test God in this. Test him. Like, see what he's going to do when you give back out of a cheerful heart. See what he's going to do. He will open the storehouses of blessing and he will just rain down blessing on you when you can choose to trust God with the money you have. And so now it's so easy for me to tithe and to give whatever I get, I give 10% back. It's easy for me because my mindset has shifted and now I trust God. It's a hard thing. It's a posture of trust. and it's biblical. And I see it in my life. When I tithe, God blesses me more. And so I want to keep my heart in a place where I'm a cheerful giver, that there's no strings attached, but I just give because I know it's the right thing to do and it keeps my heart soft. And so that's one area where I've really had to learn how to trust God. And I'm so glad that He's dealt with this in my life. And so ask yourself, where in your life are you claiming to trust God, but you are not getting in the wheelbarrow? Is it with a relationship? Is it with your finances, your career, your children, your mindset? So let that sit with you. And I'm going to close with this. If your life feels uncertain right now, this is the moment trust becomes real. Like I'm telling you, I just experienced the hardest time in my life. I went through a season of solitude, and God stripped all the distractions from my life. And I had to grow and get stronger real fast because I was in a really dark place at times over this past year. But I kept the faith and I leaned into God. I didn't pull away from Him like most people do when things don't happen according to their plan, when God takes the love of your life away, when God takes your children away, your career away, all these things, you end up moving and you end up being completely alone, having no real emotional support from anyone. When God does that in your life, He's trying to get your attention. He's trying to prepare you for something amazing. And so I'm thankful that I experienced this season in my life. And it was only during the hardest time in my life where I actually learned to really have peace and to really trust God, which are two of the things I needed and wanted most in my life. And so again, if your life feels uncertain right now, this is the moment where trust becomes real. It's not the time where you throw in the towel and say, God, I'm over this. I'm going to go figure it out my own way. It's the time for you to say, I submit, I surrender, I relent, I give in to you, God. I was on my knees every single day in tears, trying to get through and trying to understand. Because I was so controlling, it was a hard lesson for me to learn to really let go and really trust God. That's what I was struggling with. Going, God, this has taken so much longer than I planned. This is not how it's supposed to be. I don't know how many times I said that to Him. This is not how it's supposed to be. It's taking too long. My kids need me. I'm powerless. I have zero control. I thought that I did. I thought I could say the right thing, do the right thing, call the right person, reach out to people in high places. The funny thing is, like, God's in the highest place there is. I was kind of avoiding going to Him. Even though I have a personal relationship with Jesus my whole life, it needed to become more personal. And so if this time in your life feels uncertain, now is the time to press in more than ever. And God is not confused. He's not late. He's not disappointed in you. And He's never waiting on you to figure it out. This was me in my marriage, you guys, my people, my friends, whoever's listening. This was me in my marriage. I was married to a very dismissive, avoidant, emotionally unavailable gentleman who would not give up drinking or other things that ruined the intimacy in our marriage. And I truly believed that God disappeared and slipped into the shadows and just washed His hands of us because we couldn't figure it out. That was the thing. It was like, I imagined God saying, you guys can't figure this out. You guys are morons. You guys are idiots. And God would never, ever say that. But that's how I felt because I couldn't figure out, but I didn't know anything about alcoholism or addiction or dismissive avoidance or narcissism. I didn't know anything about that stuff. I was completely blind to it all. And it was only when I became educated, then I was able to disconnect, make better decisions, and heal. And I've never looked back since. So He's not waiting for you to figure it out, but He is waiting for you to get in the freaking wheelbarrow already. Let Him lead. Like, your job is just to trust. That's it. Your only job is to let go of what no longer serves you so that He can bring into your life what does serve you. And your only job is to trust. Breathe it in like you're breathing oxygen. You don't worry about breathing oxygen. You don't wonder if it's going to be there. You don't wake up in the morning and be like, is there oxygen in the air? And that should be the case for trust. It's like, can I trust God today? I know that He can do it, but will He? For me, that's the question I struggle with and I've been dealing with lately. I know you can do these things, God, but will you? You get in the wheelbarrow, you trust him, and his job is everything else. How amazing is that? Like, what a great trade off. It's just that it's hard when you're not used to doing that. When you are used to being controlling, making decisions, fending for yourself, being in survival mode, protecting yourself, all of those things, when you're used to that, when that's your norm, it's really hard to trust. But guess what? You can trust. It just takes one step at a time, one day at a time, just choosing when that moment comes up where you don't want to trust, you just choose to take a deep breath and you just say, God, I invite you into this moment. I trust you. Imagine yourself getting in the wheelbarrow and just saying, okay, God, you got me. You got me. So I'm going to end with that. I am so thankful for your time. I hope that you got some real value out of this episode. And you can reach out to me via email if you have any questions or topics you would like me to talk about. And I want you to go get some freaking wind in your hair. So important this week. And that means push yourself outside your comfort zone. Do something you normally wouldn't do. Be brave. Be bold. Go have some fun. One last thing before you leave. I want to say a prayer over us. And so, Heavenly Father, I come to you right now, and for anyone who's listening, I pray, Lord, that we would learn to trust you, that we would surrender our hearts, our needs, our feelings, our emotions, our desires, our longings, our worries, our anxieties, everything, Lord, that we would lay it at your feet, and we would learn to trust you, Lord, like we're breathing oxygen. I pray, Lord, that we would all choose to get in the wheelbarrow today, starting today. And we might want to get out of the wheelbarrow, Lord, but I just want everyone here to be equipped and empowered to be able to trust you and to know what it's like to trust you, Lord. I pray that you would speak to everybody who's listening right now and that you would reveal yourself to them, Father. I pray this in your name. Amen. All right. Thank you so much for your time. Until next week. Aloha.